Behind us, tide rushes past that point, forms a big eddy on this side of the point, and that traps all the food, the small fish, all the bait coming down with the tide gets trapped in that eddy, and the jewfish sit here feeding on that food. So it's definitely a run-out tide spot. Fish is best from around about September through to about March. It's a summertime spot, but run-out tide. And the bait we use, normally fillets of mullet work well. No weight, just cast them out into that eddy, let them swirl around, let them float around till the fish can find it, and then maybe that 60-pound Jew of a lifetime. We're sitting over the middle ground between Juno and Eleanor Bluff. Now the markers I use, if you look north, you can just see the jetty for the National Fitness Camp around Juno Point. And if you look west, you'll see that headland just to the south of Parsley Bay Ramp, situated right in the middle of those two hills on the horizon. Now if you go over this spot with a sounder, it's completely barren, no formation at all. But what we found is that there's a pippy bed underneath us. Now after floods, the water rips through here, scours all the mud and sand off the top of those pippies, and the bream come in here to feed. Now it fishes particularly well in the last couple of hours of the run-out tide. And strangely enough, the best bait is chukka, dynamite, they love it. So keep this in mind. If you want to come and get some bream, after the heavy floods, last couple of hours of run-out tide, try the pippy beds for the bream. Cowan Creek on the southern side of the Hawkesbury River is another spot to keep in mind as a handy little fishing spot. Very deep water. This is where, of course, they get all the hairtail during the winter. But this spot just here, that tree you can see hanging down into the water, which is just inside Jerusalem Bay on the northern shore, is not a bad spot for jewfish early morning, particularly if you can get a high tide just after light. It's very deep water, straight off the rocks there, goes down to about 11 metres, and the jewfish tend to hold against that shore. Fish fairly light, about 10 kilo, and fresh yellowtail fillets are a dynamite bait. Don't use any lead, just flick them out and let them float down to the bottom, and you've got a chance of picking up a 10 or 20 kilo jewfish early morning. Further up into Jerusalem Bay, we have sand flats right up the end, fairly extensive sand flats, and they fish well during the summer months for flathead. You'll get garfish, mullet over the weed beds, and not a bad spot to enjoy a summer's afternoon. Either side of Jerusalem Bay is worth a try during the winter for hairtail. Cowan is the home for the hairtail during the winter. Jerusalem Bay, one of the spots to try. Whether it's the northern or southern shore, it really depends on the prevailing weather. A little bit of protection from the wind, but both sides are deep water and fish well for hairtail. This is Marramarra Bay in Cowan Creek, the traditional home of the hairtail during the winter months. Come down here any winter's night from around about the end of April through to August, and you will find this bay full of boats, particularly along the southern shoreline, with everybody getting into the hairtail. Now the gear they generally use is hand lines, usually from around about 10 to 15 kilo. A wire trace. Hairtail have a terrible set of dentures. They'll just cut through a nylon line like you wouldn't believe. You've got to have wire trace. A set of ganged hooks if you're using pilchards or strip baits. Some anglers like to use a single 6/0 hook if you're using yellowtail fillets or smaller baits. A trick that's been used of late is the little glow tubes. You buy them in a pack like that, attach them to the line, little tube like that, you just bend them, the chemical light starts to glow, and it definitely acts as an attractor for the hairtail at night. Other places in Cowan where you will find the hairtail during the winter months, Smith's Creek, Cowan Creek, particularly right up the top near Acuna Bay, Looking Glass Bay and Jerusalem Bay. All top spots for hairtail in Cowan Creek during the winter months. I really enjoy my fishing. Throwing a baited line in the water to me is just like a lucky dip. You can never be too sure what's going to come out. I also get a lot of satisfaction about planning an outing and have everything go to plan. Selecting the right day, the right tide, the right bait, the right gear, and at the end of the day, getting a nice catch of fish. Because I enjoy eating fish, as does the rest of the family. And there's nothing better than eating a fresh caught fish that you've caught yourself. But it's important to maintain the quality of the fish. Try and keep it just as it's just come out of the water. So when you're planning your outing, when you're getting ready, packing the boat, putting the gear in, the bait in, make sure you pack your ice. Carry ice on the boat or in your esky. Just put it in your fish box or into the esky, and when you catch the fish, put them straight on ice. I believe it's the most humane method of killing the fish anyway. The ice, the coldness seems to tranquilise the fish. They don't thrash around as much, they die very quickly, and then the ice maintains the quality of the flesh, so that when you go to dress the fish for the table, it's almost as good as when it came out of the water. The bottom line is, look after the fish that you're going to release that you don't want for the table. Treat them gently so that their chances of survival are the best, and look after the fish you are keeping for the table too, so that when you go to eat that fish, it's as good as you could possibly have it. Well, I really have enjoyed the last few days on the Hawkesbury River. I hope you've enjoyed watching it, and I hope that you've got some information that will help you fish the Hawkesbury at a later date. I hope to see you on the Hawkesbury River. If you do, give us a wave, and I hope you get as much enjoyment out of fishing this beautiful river as I have for the past 25 years.